Oh, you just caught me enjoying a gorgeous day outside on the deck, and I couldn't think of a better thing to do than sit here with a good book. As you know, I love to read. It's my favorite pastime, and I found a great story for this time of year, and it's summertime. And where do we want to go? The beach. This book is called Monster Beach, and it's written by Betty Paraskevas and illustrated by Michael Paraskevas. I'm so excited to get into this story. Are you with me? Do any of you have a copy? Well, if you do, go grab it now and join me for a fun story. Grandfather and I decided to stay at our fishing shack while my folks were away. We arrived at night and crossed the dune. By the ghostly light of the silvery moon, I saw something crack the glassy sea and rise in the water ahead of me. What do you think that is? Can you see that? I turned and made a beeline back to the safety of the fishing shack. I locked the door and never said a single word, but went straight to bed. Do you hear some rhyming words in here? They end the sentences or the lines. Back, shack. They rhyme. Said, bed. They may not be spelled exactly the same, but they definitely rhyme. We rose with the sun, and I began to feel foolish as I carried my rod and reel. Across the dune it was very clear. My eyes had played tricks. There was nothing to fear. Look, it's a beautiful sea with nothing in it. I'd been fishing for an hour alone on the shore when the thing I'd seen the night before just beyond the breakers raised its head, and I saw those eyes flaming red. I turned and ran across the sand, clutching the fishing pole still in my hand. When I turned again and looked to where that monster had been, he wasn't there. Mystery. I decided not to say a word. The whole thing sounded too absurd. Then the lifeguard arrived, and very soon the umbrella brigade was crossing the dune. Look, they all have umbrellas. That's why they call them the umbrella brigade. They want to keep themselves safe from the sun, right? The sun's rays are strong. I watched the umbrellas around me bloom when Grandfather arrived, and there was barely room to plant his umbrella and unfold his chair. The beach was crowded, and I was aware of scolding parents and the constant noise of cranky little girls and boys. Beach ball. 3 naughty boys who looked the same were kicking up sand, playing a game. The sight of the triplets always struck fear in the hearts of the folks who vacationed each year. In the cottages surrounding our fishing shack, but in spite of our prayers, they'd always come back. And every summer, as those triplets grew, their devilish pranks got more devilish too. What do you think they're gonna do? Suddenly, they grabbed an old man's hat and sent it out to sea with a baseball bat. The old man jumped right out of his seat, shaking his fist and stamping his feet. Mad as he was, he chased the 3. They escaped by swimming straight out to sea. Was that nice, what they did to that man's hat? I don't think so. We heard the lifeguard's whistle screech. He signaled the triplets back to the beach. They were excellent swimmers and chose to ignore the shrill command we watched from the shore. All at once, the sky turned gray, and the sea turned from blue to green. The ocean was wild, and the waves were so high, the triplets were not to be seen. Uh-oh. You know, when waves get high in the sea, you need to come out. Always listen to the lifeguard's directions. The lifeguard rallied some of the men to help launch the lifeboat again and again. It was tossed back to shore by a cascading wall of salty seawater that drenched them all. Very dangerous out there. Then we saw the sea monster with his ridiculous grin, struggling to bring the triplets in. They clung to his back. It was a touch and go as he fought the powerful undertow. Time after time he failed as he tried to reach the beach against the tide. So what was the monster? Then he rose up high on one huge wave, still carrying the three he was trying to save. He slid to the beach and collapsed in a heap, and all the children began to weep as the monster, still with the old man's hat, breathed one last sigh and went completely flat. Pardon me, we're having technical difficulties. The children wept softly, and the triplets, of course, wept the hardest of all. They were filled with remorse. Grandfather said he'd be right back and made a quick trip to the fishing shack. Everyone watched as he gently applied a tire patch to the monster's side. Then he pumped him up there on the shore till he looked exactly as he had before. See, it's a floaty. A lot of us have rafts in different shapes and sizes, flamingos and ducks and things. The wind died down and the sun came out. People shook hands and danced about. The sky turned from gray to blue, and when it did, the sea did too. We sat around that afternoon and hung by the light of the silvery moon. The triplets were angels, all the children behaved, the grown-ups were friendly, and the monster was saved. From that day on, the legend grew about the monster beach, where the sky is more blue, where the sand and the sea sparkle, and just off the shore lives a lovable monster all the people adore, who brought us together and taught us to care, with respect for each other, in a place we all share. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this story as much as I did reading it. It's a fun story, and it teaches us about respect and caring for others' property, and respecting boundaries, and always listening to lifeguard on duty. That could have been a sticky situation more than it was. So I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope you get to enjoy the beach yourself this summer. And I'll see you back next week for another story. Enjoy. Subscribe, like, share, kids stories, and more. Bye-bye.